You going to give me a thumbs up? I now call the August 25th, 2020 meeting of the City of High Point Planning and Zoning Commission to order. My name is Tom Kirkman. I'm chair of the commission. I will ask the recording secretary to conduct a roll call of the commissioners that are in attendance this evening.
Commissioners, when I call your name, please answer present. Mr. Uzak?
Present.
Mr. Kirkman?
Present.
Ms. McGill?
Present.
Mr. Moore?
Present.
Mr. Morgan?
Present.
Ms. Swift?
Present.
Mr. Venable?
Present.
Mr. Walsh?
Present.
Mr. Wheatley?
Present.
Mr. Chairman, you have 9 members present.
Very well. We have a quorum. We'll now consider the minutes from our previous meeting, which was held on July 28th, 2020. Are there any questions or corrections to the minutes as prepared? If not, I will then make a motion to approve the previous minutes as they've been presented to us.
I'll second.
I'll ask the recording secretary to conduct a roll call.
When I call your name, please answer yes or no in response to the approval of the July 28th, 2020 minutes of the Planning and Zoning Commission. Mr. Uzak?
Yes.
Mr. Kirkman?
Yes.
Ms. McGill?
Yes.
Mr. Moore?
Yes.
Mr. Morgan?
Yes.
Ms. Swift?
Yes.
Mr. Venable?
Yes.
Mr. Walsh?
Yes.
Mr. Wheatley?
Yes.
Mr. Chairman, 9 people voted yes for that motion.
By a vote of 9-0, the minutes of July 28th, 2020 have been approved as presented. Before we begin our public hearing this evening, on behalf of the commission, I would like to welcome everyone. The commission is charged with reviewing and making recommendations to the city council on a variety of development applications and on plans and policies for the city. Our review includes conducting a public hearing to obtain additional information and comments that could be important in evaluating the item. Due to the COVID-19 pandemic and the resulting state restrictions on public gatherings, the commission is meeting remotely in accordance with state law. This necessitates some changes to our normal meeting procedure, which I will take a minute to explain. There are 9 commissioners present at City Hall this evening, and according to my form here, 1 other is joining us remotely, but I don't believe that's correct. All 9 are here in the chambers this evening. Items on the agenda will be heard as normal, with a member of city staff presenting a summary of the application, following by staff's recommendation. The applicant and those assisting the applicant, all who are attending this meeting remotely, will then be given an opportunity to present information in support of the item. The planning and development staff publishes and sent notices that solicited the public to provide comments on these items by email, phone, or letter. Received public comments have been made available to each of the commissioners for review prior to this meeting. The period for public comment on these items will extend for an additional 24 hours beyond the conclusion of this evening's hearings. For that reason, the commission will not be voting on any hearing item on tonight's agenda. Instead, this meeting will be recessed to Thursday, August 27th, 6:00 p.m. This will allow the commission to further discuss any additional information or comments submitted by the public before making an official recommendation to the city council. Just before we begin this evening, I want to remind everyone, because of the way we're meeting, if you wish to speak, please identify yourselves for the record. There are no changes to the order of business. We'll move right in with the first item of tonight's agenda. Zoning Amendment 2015, Lindsay Commercial Properties. Mr. Shannon.
Yes, Mr. Chairman. Herb Shannon, Senior Planner with the City of High Point Planning and Development Department. And our first item is Zoning Map Amendment 20-15. This is a request to rezone a 1.1 acre site located along the east side of King Street, approximately 175 feet south of West Market Center Drive. The applicants request rezoning from the conditional use general business district to the light industrial LI district to support a industrial use consisting of assembly and warehousing within the existing 15,000 square foot building that is on this parcel. Just to note to everyone who where we're at, you have South Main Street in this area. To the north, East Market Center. To the south, College Drive and King Street and Branch Street are located between those two one-way pairs. And this is a blow up of the area, and that area that's highlighted in the teal color is the location of this current request. Parcels along King Street have been used for a variety of service, commercial, wholesale trade, and industrial uses based upon the manner in which the real estate market demands have shifted in this area. In this area, there's been a combination of light industrial and general business district zoning. And in fact, in 2001, this site was rezoned from light industrial to its current conditional use general business district. This site is located in a transitional area between commercial lands along South Main Street and other industrial lands to the west of the railroad track. This is a display of the adopted land use plan for this area. And as you see, the areas in this light pink area are local convenience commercial along the South Main Street corridor. And to the west of the site, this kind of darker pink or purple area is areas designated as light industrial just west of the railroad track. So this site is in that transitional area from lands within the commercial, adjacent to the commercial corridor, and lands that are along the adjacent industrial corridor along West Market. With the adoption of the current development ordinance in 2017, additional flexibility has been provided to lands within the core city that are designated light industrial. That will allow, the light industrial district will allow the applicants to request for some light industrial uses on this property. But under the new development ordinance, as market demand shift, the light industrial district also allows for some limited size retail use. So the requested LI district will support the applicant's current demand, but could also support any future market demands for commercial uses in this area. The Planning and Development Department is recommending approval of the request to rezone this 1.1 acre parcel to the LI district. The site is located within a transitional area just west of the existing commercial properties along South Main Street. And the requested LI district is supported by Objective 9 of the land use plan, which speaks to, where appropriate, provide a transition in land use between more and less intense land uses. This request is consistent with adopted policy guidance because the zoning site is within a transitional area of the core city area, west of commercial development along South Main Street, and east of the railroad, and more intensive or significant industrial development, which is supported by Objective 9 of the land use plan. And the request is reasonable and in the public interest because the requested LI district is the same district applied to abutting properties to the south on King Street. That is a brief summary of this request. Are there any questions of staff at this time?
Any questions for Mr. Shannon? If not, thank you, Mr. Shannon. If not, I'll ask if the applicant or applicant's representative might be joining us remotely this evening.
Yes, sir. This is Mark Lindsay. I'm joining. I'm in on this call as well.
Yes, sir.
The only thing that I would add, and you know, I appreciate the words for that, is I'm working on this for the owner of the property, and the last three people that it's a vacant building, and the last three people that have looked at it have been out of the area companies that have been looking to move to High Point, love the building, but the lack of LI zoning prevented them from coming. And so the uses we're getting are being limited because they would love to use the building and move to High Point, but have not been able to because of that current zoning, which I believe that Mr. Shannon alluded to back in 2001. That conditional use was put there to allow this to be a furniture showroom, which under the current ordinances, I believe furniture showrooms not even allowed down there anymore. So we're kind of, something has to be done there in order to be able to use it, because we can't use it as a showroom, which the conditional use is forcing us to do.
Very well. Do any of the commissioners have any questions or comments for Mr. Lindsay? Thank you, Mr. Lindsay.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Would commissioners like to deliberate on this matter before we recess the request until Thursday? I will add, I think it's a good move, and it is consistent with what else is going on in that area currently. Seems to fit the current market trends. Anyone have anything else? In that case, I will close the public hearing on this item and ask the commission members to review any public comments they may receive from city staff on this item over the next 24 hours. We'll then give further consideration and make a recommendation at the recess meeting to be held this Thursday evening beginning at 6:00 p.m. Second item on tonight's agenda, City of High Point, zoning map amendment 16.
Yes, Mr. Chairman. Herb Shannon, once again, Senior Planner with the City of High Point Planning and Development Department. Before I get into the detailed report for a zoning map amendment case 20-16, you should have a memo in front of you noting the withdrawal of a portion of this request, rezoning of lands associated with map 4 for zoning map amendment case 20-16. That map is being withdrawn. Adjacent property owner had a call and objected to the rezoning of both the Creekside at Bellmead and the Highland Ridge multifamily developments. That's all of map 4. Removal of that conditional use zoning would eliminate conditions they negotiated with with those property owners or the developer in 2000 and 2001. They negotiated condition for a 250-foot building setback and a 250-foot wide landscape buffer area along East Springfield Road and Bellmead Street frontages of these two developments back when they were rezoned in 2001 and 2002. The conditional use zoning would need to remain in place to ensure those buffers remain, and there's no way that that can be addressed just under general zoning. So just noted that that portion of the request we're not getting to is being withdrawn. I will now go into the details of the rest of this proposal. This is a request by the City of High Point Planning Department to rezone various portions of the city as part of the city's comprehensive zoning map amendment project. This is a multi-year project that was initiated in 2017. The purpose is to review and evaluate lump zoning of lands throughout the city, identify areas where zoning is out of sync or inconsistent with current land use policies, and remove improper or obsolete zoning districts and propose appropriate changes. These lands associated with round 3, and you've seen, I believe, 2 other rounds as part of round 3, were initiated by City Council in October 2019. And this round focuses on various townhomes and multifamily developments throughout the city. The requested purpose to rezone these various residential developments is to remove those outdated conditions. These various areas were rezoned between 1984 and 2003 under the former development ordinance, which was replaced in 2017 by a current ordinance. And the primary purpose is to remove the conditional use designation as those various conditions have been met or are now obsolete. This current slide shows the various areas that are going to be evaluated. As I noted, we would not go over map 4 that has been withdrawn. The first map pertains to lands at the northern intersection of West Hartley Drive and Ingleside Drive. You have West Hartley to the south. Ingleside runs in a north-south direction. There's a 7.5 area that's highlighted that's proposed to be rezoned. At the northeast corner, you have the Hartley Square condominium development. To the west, you have a single-family home at 2701 Ingleside Drive, and you have a 5,800 square foot sliver of land that is associated with this abutting multifamily development. This 7.5 acres was rezoned to the conditional use RM16 district in 1995. There were specific conditions placed on for dedicating right-of-way for the extension of West Hartley Drive, dedicating right-of-way and extending Ingleside Drive. And those conditions have been met. The lands at the northeast corner have developed with that multifamily development associated with the Hartley Square condominiums. When Ingleside Drive was extended, it cut through that parcel in such a way that there was a half acre left on the west side. A single family home was placed at 2701 Ingleside Drive. And this sliver of land was recently purchased with the development of the budding multifamily development. All conditions have been met. The conditions mainly dealt with the right-of-way dedication and timing of a development that certain lands could not be developed until Ingleside Drive had been extended. Well, except for that southwest corner right here, all four of those corners have been developed. This area was a little outdated. It shows that apartment complex to the west when it was under construction. Staff is recommending that the West Hartley condominiums be rezoned from conditional use RM16 to RM16. The single family home at 2701 Ingleside Drive, that house was built in 2000 and has been used as a single family dwelling. So staff is recommending that be rezoned to the R5 district. That matches the zoning of the budding residential subdivision to the north. And this 5,000 square foot sliver of the Hartley Ridge multifamily development, that is basically open space, common area of that development, recommending that it be rezoned to the RM26 district to match the zoning on the abutting Hartley Ridge development. Before I go to the next map, are any questions regarding map 1? Okay.
Apparently not.
Map 2 pertains to lands also along West Hartley Drive, just west of North Main Street. If you're familiar with this area, it's across the street from the YMCA, and those lands have been developed with the Fox Hollow multifamily apartment complex, the Birkdale Assisted Living Facility, the Franklin Ridge multifamily development, and there's a single family home to the south off of Green Valley Drive. These lands were rezoned in 1984 for office and institutional uses, which also at that time under that old ordinance that also allowed multifamily. And the zoning was updated in 1988. They mainly had conditions pertaining to dedicating right-of-way and land improvements for the Hartley Drive extension. That is fully completed. And over the preceding years, this was just one large parcel under one ownership, and it was divided up and developed over the preceding years to its current configuration. I believe the last development was the Franklin Ridge apartment complex. There was a condition that was placed in 1988 when this area off of Green Valley Drive, that was under initial zoning, would allow multifamily office institutional. The 1988 rezoning amended that to note that this area would be single family, and that if the property was ever subdivided, a cul-de-sac would be installed to prevent any type of extension of Green Valley Drive to West Hartley Drive. Well, with the development of the Franklin Ridge apartments, you really can't do any extension. And also, this is an area of that area. There is a perennial stream that runs behind the Franklin Ridge apartment. So with the topo out there, having to cross a stream, and you got an existing apartment complex, there's really no way Green Valley Drive is going to be extended. So staff is recommending that the lands associated with the Fox Hollow apartment, the Brookdale Assisted Living Facility, and the Franklin Ridge apartments will be rezoned from conditional use RM16 to RM16, and that the property at 4111 Green Valley Drive, which has been developed with a single family dwelling, that be rezoned from conditional use R5 to the R3 district. The R3 district matches the manner in which the budding residential subdivision off of West Ridge and Pine Ridge has developed. Are there any questions from staff regarding map 2?
Nothing.
The next is map 3. This is for the Westchester Keys apartment complex at the intersection of west of Westchester Drive and north of West Lexington. This apartment complex was actually developed in the early 1970s. The zoning on the property for a conditional use RM26 was established in 1991. That rezoning was to carve off some of the frontage of the West Lexington Avenue frontage of the site for commercial development. And there were conditions regarding access and density. Those conditions have been met. So staff is recommending that the lands associated with the Westchester Keys apartments be rezoned from conditional use RM26 to RM26. Any questions on map 3?
Right ahead.
Finally, the next request pertains to 4 developments in the northern portion of the city. You have East Chester Drive to the west, Kenny Road to the east. The first development is the Copper Mill Village Apartment Complex off of Hickswood. That property received its current zoning in 2002. There were specific conditions regarding access and buffering, which they have met. So staff is recommending rezoning that from the conditional use RM16 district to the RM16 district. I would note there were several calls from property owners to the south that were concerned about this land to the area, that if they are proposing an expansion, you can see there's a stream running to the south, and there's also flood zone areas associated with that stream. So that area is going to remain as open space. To the north, you have the Castle Pine Townhome subdivision. It goes up and intersects with Penny Road, and that property was rezoned in 2002 to a conditional use RM16 district. There were specific conditions that there be a connection to the south and to the north, because you had a stub here and a stub there, and there were specific conditions that that road be extended all the way through. Those conditions have been met. The staff is recommending rezoning from the conditional use RM16 district to the RM16. You have the Eagle Glen Townhome Development. That property, again, its current zoning of conditional use RM5 in 1996. There were specific conditions regarding access, right-of-way dedication for future improvements to Penny Road, a condition that the road be extended all the way through, so you have a connection from Penny Road back to the subdivision to the west. They have met all those conditions, and staff is recommending rezoning of the Eagle Glen development from the conditional use RM5 district to the RM5. And finally, to the south, you have the Greenside Townhome development. I have a blow up of that area. That townhome development received zoning approval in 2001. And there were specific conditions regarding access, right-of-way dedication, and landscaping, which the applicant has met. This is the only one of these developments in an area that has not been fully developed. It's about 60% developed. They have land area in the center for about 6 to 8 more dwelling units. I did have the opportunity to speak with the HOA president. They had no objections with the removing of the zoning conditions, as their HOA documents and deed restrictions are much more restrictive. So there was no objections to rezoning it from the conditional use RM5 district to the RM5 zoning district. That is a brief summary of the various lands associated with conditional zoning or zoning request 20-16. Are there any questions of staff on any of those map items?
Anything for Mr. Shannon? Very well, thank you, sir.
I would note we had about 30 to 40 phone calls from the various in total. The main concerns that came up is there any change of use? We've noted no, that this is being initiated by the city. The owners aren't triggering or doing anything. A lot of people had questions. This is going to change their HOA rules, and staff explained that their HOA rules are for them to regulate. The city does not maintain those. And we had several adjacent property owners. We not only notified the people within these developments, we notified all property owners within 300 feet. So we had several property owners from outside of these developments were wondering, is this changing their zoning? And we explained that this is not changing their zoning. It's just for those specific developments that are proposed for zoning change.
Very good, thank you. The commissioners have any questions or deliberation among themselves? Very well. In that case, I'll close the public hearing on this item and ask the commission members to make sure and look for any further public comments you may receive over the next 24 hours that city staff may send you. And then we'll give further consideration and make a recommendation at the recess meeting on Thursday at 6 o'clock. Before we move to the director's report, I just want to mention any members of the public that might be joining us remotely this evening. You do have another 24 hours to submit comments or questions or suggestions to city staff, and you can do that either by email, phone, or, well, letter. It probably won't make it in time. But you do have another 24 hours, and we will certainly take anything we receive under advisement at the meeting on Thursday night. And now we'll move to the director's report.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. You have a copy of the director's report. I'm just going to touch on a couple items there. First, I'd like to acknowledge your new member of the commission here this evening, Mr. Mark Morgan. The commission now has 9 members in full membership, and this is the first time I think everyone has been able to meet physically since February, so long time coming. I just had a couple items just to touch base on. Your next meeting will be September the 22nd and 24th, unbeknownst to what was written in your director's report there, but it should be the 22nd, 24th. You do have one map amendment. That'll be another set of comprehensive zoning map amendments that Herb has been working on. I would also note to you, just to anticipate meeting in this sort of 2-meeting format, if you will, for the remaining months of this year, September, October, and November and December. So if you would, not only pencil in your meeting date, but also pencil in the corresponding Thursday to take your votes. And if things change otherwise, we'll let you know to that effect, but this is probably going to be the format for the foreseeable future. I did want to note that the comprehensive zoning map amendment next month, in addition to have that one case, Herb will give you a little update on where we are with that project, so you can see where we've been as where we're headed with that project as well. The last thing I just want to mention was about email requests. I know we've got a couple. As you all know, your email is public information. It's out there, and so from time to time, y'all may get requests from citizens. It's very interesting how they come across that email. And so sometimes they'll send you something. They may send 2 or 3 of you something. They may send 1 or 2 of you and staff something in terms of request. Just want to encourage you, if you do get something like that, you're under no obligation to respond. And in fact, I would probably encourage you to send that request to staff and let us sort of respond. I know Ms. McGill sent us a couple. We've had that type of scenario going on where y'all get hit with an administrative question or something of that nature. And as always, if you have any questions about our response, I'll be glad to give that to y'all. But it's in many cases, it's there, as was in this case, is more inquiry for information about how to proceed with something. And so that's sort of, we'll be glad to handle those anytime. That's all I had. If y'all have any questions or anything?
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
For calendar purposes, what's the plan for November 24th? I guess it is. Tuesday's okay. Thursday is obviously Thanksgiving.
I'm sorry. With the plexiglass, I can't quite hear as well.
Yeah, so November 24th and 26th?
Yes.
What's the plan for that week?
Well, traditionally, and I don't have my calendar. If you grab my calendar on my phone there, Chris, the commission moves up the December and November meetings for the Planning and Zoning Commission in November and December.
Okay.
So for the month of November, your regular meeting date will be November the 10th, and the corresponding Thursday will be November the 12th. And then for December, you will be meeting on Tuesday, December the 8th, and then Thursday, December the 10th. And so all other regular meeting dates is the 4th Tuesday of the month, but in November, December, we move it up to the 2nd meeting date. That is, as you may recall, that was done as a matter of rule procedure last time. So that's, if you want to deviate from that, that's perfectly fine, but that's what's set. And then you won't meet again after that December 10th meeting, if you will, until January the 26th. So that'll be the 4th meeting in January. So.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm. Thank you. Good question.
Anything else? If not, I will make a motion that we recess this evening's meeting and reconvene on Thursday evening, the 27th at 6:00 p.m.
I will second.
We have, as Mr. Walsh has seconded the motion, I'll ask the recording secretary to make a roll call vote.
Please respond yes or no in response to Mr. Kirkland's motion to continue the public hearings from tonight until Thursday, August 27th at 6 p.m. Mr. Uzak.
Yes.
Mr. Kirkland.
Yes.
Ms. McGill.
Yes.
Mr. Moore.
Yes.
Mr. Morgan.
Yes.
Ms. Swift. Mr. Venable.
Yes.
Mr. Walsh.
Yes.
Mr. Wheatley.
Yes.
Mr. Chairman, you have 9 votes in favor of that motion.
Very well, by a vote of 9-0, this meeting is recessed and will reconvene Thursday evening, the 27th at 6:00 PM in these chambers.